All right, Rick and Val, welcome to the Success Mindset podcast. I'm very excited to have you guys here. I had the privilege and honor of being in Leadership South Dakota. I'm not sure what cohort I was. I don't remember. I don't know if you guys know.
You'd have been year 7.
Year 7.
Right.
And what a tremendous experience. Just being transparent, I think I might have shared this with you, Rick, at first when it was recommended you should go through Leadership South Dakota, and obviously being the culture consultants and we do leadership, what am I going to learn? But I had two people, say you really should go through this, and people I had trusted in that. But it was just such a phenomenal experience, and so I'm excited to have this conversation around two people that I view as successful in my eyes.
Thanks, Damon.
Thank you.
Share a little bit just a background. So you guys, Leadership South Dakota, really started with the two of you and your guys' brainchild and your baby. Share with everyone a little bit of that journey. How, where did it start? Why was it important to you? Why do you think it is an asset, as I view it, as an asset to our community and our state?
Yeah, thanks. I can jump in and Valerie can add. Probably 2013, we were in Wyoming, Chugwater, Wyoming, to be specific, visiting friends of ours. We have friends from Wyoming. Lynn, Valerie's friend, lost her husband when she had 3 little kids. We lived in Cheyenne at that time. And then she married Dan, who also lost his wife. And so it's this neat little marriage of 2 folks that both lost their spouses that are together now with 5 kids. And Valerie and I were on their ranch visiting them. And Dan, the friend that I'm connected to, had talked about being in Leadership Wyoming. And so we were like, what's Leadership Wyoming? Tell us about it. And he said, we travel around the state and learn about our state. And he wanted to run for office. He wanted to run for the state legislature. So he took it for that purpose. And so as we were driving home, which is a long drive, 12 hours back to Sioux Falls, we started talking about, maybe we should think about that. I mean, I was just immediately intrigued with the idea. And I knew our state didn't have anything like that at this time. So when we got back, a few weeks went by, and I started reaching out to a few individual people that I thought had a means to support our effort, and just said, what do you think about that idea? Do you think it's something we should pursue? And I was just getting thumbs up all around from people, mainly in Sioux Falls, but statewide as well. And one thing led to another, and we launched the program in 2014. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but.
No, it was a lot of Rick's passion. And for me, it was just a lot of be fun to come alongside and do some of the things that Rick has been doing throughout his career while I was raising children. And now this is something we could do together. And I love people and I like serving people. So, and Rick likes teaching. So it seemed like a nice fit.
Yeah.
So we gave it a whirl.
Yeah. One of my favorite authors, and who I actually consider to be my mentor, if you would, even though I've met him once now, spoke on the stage with John Maxwell, but he defines leadership as influence.
Influence.
And so much of influence is driven by your example. And so you use the word passion, that you're passionate about it. What do you think, when you think about leadership and you think about, again, leadership being successful, why is this an important topic as we look to influence the state, bringing people together, learning about other parts of the state? Why do you think that's an important thing for a state like South Dakota?
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about is that rural states have really only one thing going for them, and that's people. And the beauty of our state and other states like us are we can have access to all of the leaders in our state. Everything from the governor to CEOs. I mean, and I continue to hear every year that we meet and talk, and I'm doing my one-on-ones via Zoom right now with our 43 current class members. And I'll ask them, what do you like about the program? And one of the things you always say is access. We have access to all these people that we read about, that we hear about, that we see in the news, and we get to hear from them, right? We get to go spend time with them. And there's really nobody in our state that we wouldn't have access to. And that's pretty cool. So I think one of the things that we have going for us here that you don't see in larger states is that we have a chance to get in front of some of the best and brightest leaders in our state and learn from them directly. So I think that's huge. And then just the idea of developing leaders for tomorrow. Which obviously is a term that you folks are really doing a nice job of too, and that is hey, you're in a position to do something in our state because we're small. We need everybody, and that's really what we're up to, and that sounds like that's what you folks are doing too, Tamian. So yeah, it's just the idea of developing leaders because you can make a difference in a small state.
Yeah, I remember there was a tipping moment for me going through the program was in our Yankton trip. got to find out, people ask me what's in South Dakota. I'm like, only the largest archery facility in the world. Hello.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know that,
Yeah.
right? But now you can say that type of stuff.
Exactly, right.
Being able to go to a Hutterite community was really
Right.
cool. Again, very surprising when we heard we're going to see 15,000 baby turkeys. I thought it was going to be noisy and all get up. It was almost quiet as a mouse. It was
Right.
amazing.
Right.
But it was the trip to Centerville. And when we got to Centerville, and hearing that cool story about just the right two leaders at the right time could have been a major difference if that community thrives forward or shrinks
Right.
back when all these challenges are out there. And so that was a tipping point for me of, again, access and hearing the stories, inspiring, right? Again, once you get inspired by things and you hear these stories, you start to realize, like, what more can I do?
Right.
Which is one of my favorite things that you guys did at the end. Everyone has their puzzle piece. I have mine still in my office.
Right.
That, what are you going to do to commit to the state to move that forward? Because it gives everyone permission that no matter where you're at, you can influence or impact somebody if you're passionate enough.
Right.
Along your guys' journey, what are maybe a couple of the inspirational things that have come across your plate, whether that's going to a location and hearing some of the stories, but what's maybe one or two, or one from each of you, what's one of the stories that was really inspirational through the 8 years of doing this?
You want to start?
Oh, there's so many to choose from. I still get really excited when I see our previous mayor, Huther. When he shows up in the room, he just is an exciting person who has never lost, it doesn't seem to me, a step in his passion for people and serving them and encouraging them. I don't know. And he makes everybody smile and everybody gets excited about the message that he brings. And I think they leave hoping they'll always be like that in their own personal lives, that they won't lose the passion and the joy. And I always enjoy to see Mike Huther come into the room. He does a nice job.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's like hearing, I call them graduates or completers that are now doing things that they said they wanted to do. Like we have I was just in Pierre yesterday with a small alumni group. And we have 3 of our alums that are state senators that are now, out there making laws and making the difference in our legislature. And I saw all 3 of them yesterday, and it was fun to be able to see them. And, they all were like, hey, as a result of this program, I'm able to do this now, and I'm excited about it. We have Jess Evans here in Sioux Falls, who's a foster parent, and that happened because of our program. And she heard about the need, went home, talked with her husband. They had 5 children on their own.
Of their own.
And
God
she
bless
felt
them.
exactly. And she felt a need to say, there's a need out there. It's something I think we can do. And they're doing it, right? And then we have a couple of folks that have started nonprofits. Susan, Bill, the Transformation Project that's making a difference in the transgender community, and she started that, and it was a result, I think, largely of the program that we created. And she just got together with other leaders and said, why can't I do this? I'm passionate about it. I want to make it happen.
She
And we've
walked
had-
away from a good career just to begin that.
Right.
That
So
was
those
cool.
are really fun for us, and it'd be no different than you guys. When you plant the seed and then you see it grow, and you kind of go. We had a small part of that journey that they're on. We were a stop along the way. Most of the time, as you probably can also assume, Tammy, we catch people on the way up. I mean, you're no different. I mean, you were going to do good things, great things, no matter what. You happen to land with us for a while. Maybe we gave you a little bit of a momentum boost, and then you went out and made a real difference in the world that you live in too. So it's just fun for us to see the fruits of our labor.
For sure. I think a secret part of that to me is when you have the connectivity, even as you have past graduates going forward, and I even think there's an opportunity that to be able to, what would a one-sheeter look like to just say, here's top 40 success stories.
Yeah.
Because again, what that does in my mind, it expands people's idea of possibilities. I never thought that was possible until I was exposed to X, Y, Z, because we are creatures of habit, and it's so easy to get caught up in the undertow of life, getting a job and kids and family. But then again, you have a program like Leadership South Dakota that just expands your exposure, and you hear about other alums doing those type of things. As you guys think about maybe your journey, who were maybe some of those stories or people that were inspirational to you, whether that's somebody you knew directly, maybe it was reading a book that changed your mind on something. What are some of those inspirational moments in your life that dared you to dream a little bit bigger and say, I probably can do a little bit more than I think I can?
Yeah, I had a couple of mentors that come to mind for me. Jim Beto, who really helped us get this program off the ground. He ran for governor quite a few years ago. But he was really inspirational to me and helped us get started. And he mentored me as a younger man, saying, you need to get your doctorate degree. You can do things, in the education world if you get that next level of a degree. But you really should leave the state. You should get out of here and find out what's really going on out there. You can always come back.
So we went to Wyoming.
Yes, we went to Wyoming. Yeah, and it was great though. I mean, good advice from Jim and a great experience for us. So that was one of them. Daryl Jensen, who's a faculty member from SDSU a long time ago. I told people I went into the course, wasn't sure I could be a leader, and I left convinced I could be a leader. One of those kind of guys that just said, "You can do it. You've got the ability to do it." And so for me, it was actually a lot of it was happened before this program. And then I feel like it's my job to do that same thing with people in this program, like to say, I see something in you. Here's what your talents are. We lean on the disc. Everybody has their own kind of personality tool that they use, but you can lead from any chair. You can lead from any style. The old idea of, the command and control leadership style that I was raised under is no longer the case. It's now like it doesn't matter what your personality profile is, you can lead. And I feel like that's one of the things we try to do is say, it doesn't matter. Leadership looks a lot of different ways and it can be a lot of different styles. And so no matter who the person is, we can encourage them to be a leader.
Yeah. Lead from where you are and
lead from where you are and from who you are. Right.
Yeah. How about you? What's one of those things?
My parents. I mean, I just go back to my parents very often when I think about how I want to be and how I want to live. And I lost my mom really early in life. She was just 51 years old, and I had just had our third child. But my mom was dedicated to my dad, who was a force. I mean, he was a force. He was a basketball coach, and he moved at a pretty good pace. And I sort of feel like that's the way it's been with Rick and I. Once I knew that it was the family that I was committed to, Rick just sort of took off. He just began to kind of do all the things that you've been given the skills to do in the leadership world. So again, I go back to, my parents set a really good tone and example for me. And I feel like that has played out over the years. And me being able to be alongside Rick in the latter years has just been a lot of fun because I committed myself to raising 3 kids. And we moved, Tamian, 6 times. I mean, every time we moved, he was kind of taking another step forward. And so when he was doing that, I was grateful to be able to be at home and kind of hold everything together while he started a new venture. And in the end, it's paid off nicely. We were done raising kids at the age of 40. I mean, I was pretty young, 44, 5.
You were 28 when our last child was born. So
yeah.
I was 32.
But I mean, they were out the door by the time we were late 40s. So
right.
that just opened up a window, and I'll always be grateful for that window. I mean, I just see God's hand. I don't know about you, but I just see God's hand in our life. And it's just been a pleasure to have parents that would encourage me in my faith and to trust and then watch God just do good things.
Yeah, we would be remiss if we didn't, just say that the Lord has really blessed our efforts here. We feel like a lot of this is part of His plan, and we couldn't have drawn it up this way. I didn't know that this was a part of the design for us, but we landed in a spot late in our lives, late in our career, professional lives, where we had this opportunity to mentor younger leaders and be an influence as much as we could.
Yeah,
and
I'm really grateful.
we feel like God just provided the opportunity at the right time for us.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Which has been great.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Leadership South Dakota will tap a marriage pretty good because it is work. It is work. And we have worked side by side. And I'm really thankful for that most of the time. There are times when I want to scream a little because it is work, but
Yeah.
we have really enjoyed having this little adventure. And I love watching Rick teach. So, I mean, he is just still as passionate as he was from the beginning. So I love to watch that. And it's just really a blessing to be able to be in the arena with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, sure. How long you guys been married?
38 years.
38. Good.
Yeah.
When the husband can beat to the punch, like that's a secret right there.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah.
38 years.
It's been good.
Write it on the
38
palm of your
years.
hand every day if you need to, like just in case quiz.
Every day. Yeah.
38.
So 38 years. This is one of those. I challenge a lot, and obviously, I'm going to get deeper into the relationship side of this because again, that's a huge part of not just the program but success. Period.
Yeah.
But it was specifically with marriage, right? Most of us don't come from good blueprints. Again, it sounds like you had some good parents. Love my parents, same thing. But again, I ask this question all the time of how many of you, came from what you would consider a 5% marriage, like the top echelon of 5%. Most people, no way.
Right.
And then I ask the question, how many people know at least out of the hundreds of couples that you know, maybe even thousands that you know, how many know at least 5 couples that you would consider have marriages that you wouldn't mind having? Not that you need to swap out, and it's a struggle to get to that. And I think a large part of that, principle of exposure, that in which you're exposed to influences who you become. So if we don't come from great examples of what a healthy, and there's no that's the best marriage in the world, but
Right.
the keys of really making a healthy marriage, I think is a good way to put it. What are some of the things you guys have found? Obviously, it's never easy. There's no easy path to it. What's made it worth it for you, and what are some of the things that you guys have done to make sure that you make it 30 years and going strong?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I couldn't possibly count how many times we've had Leadership South Dakota folks say we enjoy the banner back and forth between you and Valerie, and it's not scripted. It isn't. It's just our marriage playing out in front of 40 people, and it's not always perfect. I mean, we sometimes have our moments where we go back and forth. Back to our faith has been huge. I wasn't raised in a deeply faithful home, loving home, yes, not a deeply spiritual home. Valerie was, and so I had to sort of admit on the front end that she had some things going that I didn't have, and I think part of the marriage is admitting when you look at your spouse and go, they've kind of got this one figured out better than me, instead of like we each dig into our own turf and decide, I got mine and you got yours. So you have to do that meet in the middle once in a while. And when it came to the spiritual side, I had to go more than halfway to, get to the point where I think we were really in a good spot.
And you did it gracefully.
Yeah,
by the
but
way.
admit, you've got this figured out and I don't, and then there's some other parts of it that I maybe had a little bit more of an advantage on and she didn't. So I think a lot of it is just really compromising, but we liked each other before we loved each other. We dated a little bit, split up for a while, got back together again, and I just really, really liked Valerie, and then we got married and I fell in love with her, and it's just been that way ever since, but we really liked each other. And
we are not the same creature.
Yeah, and we're different.
I'm telling
We're
you,
different
we
people.
are not the same creature.
Yeah.
We are very different, but we are crazy about each other. And that seems weird sometimes to me, that you can be very different and yet it's the very differences, I think, that draw us together.
You and I
He's who
talked.
I'm not, and I'm who you're not.
And I remember
that's
you and
okay.
I visiting a little bit during the program about you and Vonnie and how you're kind of, you're a good match, like he's got some things that you don't have, you got some things that he doesn't have. And that's really true in any marriage. It's like the phrase better together is really kind of what I think has really made it work for us is I'm better with her than without her. And and I'd like to think she's better with me than without
That's
me.
true.
And there you go.
It's true.
Well, I think about it from that, the iterations of life. Obviously, you talked about, having kids, and then, when the kids are gone, it was a new chapter, and you can grow in that together because you are different people than when you first met. Life happens, you grow, the careers, all the different things. And I always tell my advice to folks is again, find someone who's willing to just grow better.
Yeah. We have to reinvent a little bit in that season without children. And for Rick and I, it's involved our bikes. I mean, we like to ride bikes, and that was not something we did much of. I mean, you have to find some things that are new and kind of fresh. And exciting. And Leadership South Dakota has certainly been that, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun, but it's also made me crazy.
But also it's that idea of private victories precede public success. You have to command your personal life, and if you can't do that, you can be successful for a while if you don't, but you really won't have good long-term success if you don't have a good command of your personal life. And so I've always tried to be a good husband and a good father, even though I haven't always been great at either one of those always. But at the same time, like, I really work hard at that so that my children don't have to go, who is that guy that's out there? Because that's not the same guy we know. Ideally, it would be, that's my dad, right? He's the same here as he is out there. Like, there's no difference. And I think we've done a good job of that. Like, we've really tried to be present for our kids, imperfect in every way, but at the same time, like, they're going to see the same people that you folks saw in the program.
Yeah. One of the most, just continuing on the topic of relationships, I mean, it's still amazing to me just sitting back in hindsight, because my cohort, it feels like we're family to a large degree.
Isn't it true?
And when you break it down, like, the real atoms of the facts is, like, really it was 6 sessions, 2 days. So you're talking about 12 days with from strangers to, like, I feel like we'll be connected for our life.
Yeah.
Right.
I can think about, Tanai and I always finding ourselves in a corner just having some deep conversations about some really thoughtful things, or it happened late in the game. Me and Bo connected on some things, and just saw Justin yesterday at an SME event. And again, there's that natural connection that carries on. I have an opinion. I think, again, it really starts with the two of you. Again, when I speak your guys' praises, you guys drip authenticity and genuineness. And so that's a starting
compliment.
point. But I think the other side of that is just the vulnerability. And so many leadership for so long, you had this armor and all these ideas of what it was. You guys are this testament, in my opinion, of the opposite side of that, of saying that's not what you need to be, because your guys' level of vulnerability and transparency from the jump set the tone for 40 strangers to accelerate and be vulnerable with each other, which accelerated relationships. So as you guys think about that, how do you guys see, what is some of that secret sauce of, again, how you can go from 40 strangers, 6 sessions, 2 days, to lifelong relationships? What are some of those secrets?
Well, we are who we are. There's no doubt that comes to the table, and like it or leave it. We are who we are. But we've had the conversation about the 2-minute messages over and over, and people just sharing from their hearts the times when their life has changed for the better, and the stories we've heard. Holy, who would have guessed that the atmosphere was solid enough that people would share deep hurts and deep victories. And I think that's the start of it. It's interesting, Rick, when we started this, it was all about getting people places, helping them see leaders in the state of South Dakota, and then learn leadership skills. But boy, we absolutely missed on the networking thing. That came up so fast and bloomed so quickly in front of us that part of it is, Tamian, we didn't even know that. It just was a set. Why do you think it's so much this way?
I think it is I'm a crier. I'm not really proud of that. It's not something. It's honestly something I've asked the Lord, take it from me so I can deliver a message and not get emotional. But it's really hard for me to do that. But I think in a lot of ways it has opened the door for people to feel like, I guess it's okay to do that. And Rick does, and I don't do it by design. I really wish I didn't have that issue, but I do. But I've just decided, I guess that's part of God's design for me, is that I'm going to be real, and I have a choice of either not talking about it so I don't cry, or talking about it and run the risk of getting emotional. And I've just decided I'm going to talk about the issues that are important to me, but that sometimes does come with some emotion that goes with it. But I think it opens the door for people to say, I guess if the leader can do it, then I can do it. And we've had a couple of folks, several in fact, get up in front of the group and go, I've never shared this before, but I'm going to do it today. And that's just so remarkable to me that we've created this 40 strangers coming together, and within a couple of sessions, people are standing up and going, I've never shared this in public before, but here I go. And I'm like, so what happens that allows that person to feel comfortable to do that. And I think they look around, they see friends,
Yes.
and then they do it. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's been kind of remarkable in many ways, I think.
And it makes me think that people want to do it.
Right.
They're just waiting for the right opportunity to do it.
And isn't that important, right? For even places of work to provide opportunities for
Yes.
their people to come to one another from some of the deepest places. I mean, we're going to work better. We're going to work harder. We're going to work in better ways when we are honest and truthful and we can know one another. Authentic.
Yeah.
That, like I say, that's a real compliment that you would say
Yeah.
that, because authenticity is what we all long for, right? I want to know the real you.
Yeah.
You're a younger guy, and I think the younger generation, and I can say that because I'm older, obviously, is that I think they want something different in their leaders. It used to be like, I don't need to know all the details, just tell me what we're doing tomorrow. Yep. And I think now it's like, I want to know who you are. I want to know what you stand for. And if you're not going to tell me, then maybe I'll go find somebody else that I can follow that I really, believe in.
That's a good point.
So I think it's a new day for leaders compared to the world that I grew up in. And I think vulnerability is a huge part of it. And people like Brene Brown and others are champion that cause. But I think our programs can do that too. And I know you guys are doing that, and we're trying to do that as well.
Yeah, as we talk about, a successful 21st century organization, obviously COVID has sped up a lot of the conversation that people were not ready and prepared for.
Right.
And, there's 4 pillars in our mind of a 21st century organization who's successful. You have to have a focus on culture. You have to have a focus on the people as themselves, the person, obviously give them the skills and accountability. But it's the person side of it, right? It's not a business's responsibility to make somebody a better human being, but my God, it's to your benefit.
It is to your benefit.
Why wouldn't you make that a part of that? And to the point of, let's look at the statistics, right? America, we're great in a lot of ways, but one statistic that we simply have to not only challenge, but have to say, what are we going to do about this? Is of the developed nations in the world, we are one of the highest, if not the highest, most high anxiety, high depressed. We know the stats. People are saying that when it's in anonymous surveys and those type of things. But if we're not leaving people to their own devices, they're getting sucked up into their phones and Netflix and various things, to the point we have to create an environment where it's okay. Especially where we talk about the average working professional spends between 50 and 75% of their waking hours at work, going to work, thinking about work, decompressing from work. So work is hand down the biggest area that we can give people a safe space to get to know each other and those type of things, right? When you guys think about, success and successful leaders, who are a few people that come to mind, and what are those a few key attributes for you that really stand out of what it makes to be a great leader?
A couple that come to mind for me. One would be Dennis Dugard. He's been, former governor, has been a great resource for us. And whenever he shares, the class will just kind of go, again, back to the genuineness. He's a real human being. He's not afraid to talk about what goes well and what doesn't go well. Dana Dykhouse gets a lot of really, good accolades whenever he shares. And again, a lot of it is because he's real. He talks about the day he got fired, or, just things like that kind of a lot of people might go, I'm not talking about that. That's in the past. And he's like, no, that's part of my journey, and that's who I am, and that's how I got to where I am today. So those are a couple that come to mind right away. And then we just haven't had a lot of folks in the program. Carla Santee is, doing a terrific job at Blend Interactive, and she's been a great leader. Kayla Etram in the nonprofit world with Junior Achievement. So we just have a lot of folks that we've had the benefit of just working within our program that I think are going to eventually and currently making a huge difference in our state. And it seems like the thread is like they're real. They're just willing to get up in front and go, here's the good and here's the bad.
Yep.
And we're managing all of it and trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Hey, we just came out of the rural session with, it was the flagship. And so where were we? We were in Clark, South Dakota. Yeah. And boy, those people that are doing the work in rural South Dakota, always impress me. They just always impress me that they're working with a whole lot less people and putting on one hat after another, doing a lot of different things within those communities. And they believe in their communities. And I mean, I just think of Nick Foshheim, who's a kid that was here in Sioux Falls, and he's gone back to Webster. One of those kids that just believes in his community. And you see the little community people in the classroom just kind of get excited again about those little towns that they came from. Now, are they all going to go rushing back? Probably not. But I just admire those folks like what you saw in Centerville that are willing to just grind it and do the work. And I don't know, it's always a treat for me to get into those rural communities. But my grandparents both came out of small little towns in South Dakota. Rick came out of a small little town in South Dakota. Good Lord, there's only 200 people in Geddes? I mean, they do great things. They do amazing things for our state by just creating amazing people, and off they go to keep this place. I don't know. I just think rural South Dakota it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
What's going on out there?
Yeah. When I think of obviously success, you finish strong is something that comes to mind, right? Not going to assume you guys are in the fourth quarter because you may want to be like, we got another 20 years of Leadership South Dakota.
Good grief, we're in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we are in the fourth quarter. Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter.
So as you guys consider
It's
the
not the
fourth
2-minute
quarter,
warning yet, but we're getting close.
fourth quarter of your careers and those type of things, as you think back, usually most people have heard it from the rocking chair test. What are, at this point, obviously, again, I would imagine you guys would say you've had a pretty successful life raising kids and making an impact, those type of things, but what are some of the things that you're looking forward to between now and being 85 in a rocking chair, looking back? What are some of those things that you feel is going to be important for you to finish strong on your success journey during this fourth quarter between now and just relaxing on that rocking chair on the porch?
Yeah, I mean, one of the sayings I've kind of adopted recently is just improving the lives of others. The idea that I'd like to think people would look at us and go, my life's a bit better because of my exposure to Rick and Val through this program or through our lives in general. We try to be active in our church, so it isn't just Leadership South Dakota. I hope it's everywhere we go, and everything that we do can help people be a little better version of themselves if they've spent some time with us. And that's one of our prayers always, is that the Lord will bless us with the opportunity to influence those around us with our words or our actions. And so that'd be my hope. But ideally it would start with our children and grandchildren, and then work out from there. And I will say that's one of my, I don't know if I want to say a regret because it's not over yet, but I haven't been the best version of that. I've spent a lot of time looking out, and I really need to spend more time and be more intentional over the next, if the Lord gives us 10 or 15 or 20 more years, to say, I want to make sure that I am looking in as much as I'm looking out, to make sure that our children and our grandchildren really are, blessed and influenced by the work we do.
Yeah. We have 8 little grandkids. Yeah. I mean, that's a little force right there, right? If we do that well, that's what stays behind, right? Because we're out of here at some point. And rocking chair maybe, but I'd be okay with a slower pace. Rick is born to keep a clip. I mean, you were in the class. We don't slow down. We do not slow down. And I'll be just real okay with a little slower pace and a little, just a little more relaxed time, whether we do a little bit of traveling or not, I don't know. But I'm okay if the thing slows down a little bit and somebody else can bring new and fresh ideas to what we've been doing. And I think we've done a heck of a job with Leadership South Dakota, but there is so much more,
a lot more
that could go down and happen, and new concepts. And I hope we're nothing short of just straight up encouragers of all of that. I think that would be really important for us to be really good encouragers of whatever happens from this point with Leadership South Dakota.
Yeah, I've heard this a number of years ago. Leave the stage while they're still clapping, and that's what we want to do too. Is, we want to make sure that we leave it better than we found it, and also that we're going to leave before people start to go. When are these two going to head off? I realize oh yeah, you're not there yet, but I really am serious about that. Like you want to make sure that you're exiting before the expiration date hits. Where it's like it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last question I have would be a surprise question. It part of, again, to me, success is relationships, and part of that's quality conversations. And so we have these cube conversation cards that we put out there that has different questions on there. So I'm going to randomly pick one, and we'll see what we got here to scrape your brains. All right. That's a good topic. You can only pass along one piece of advice to your kids. What is it, and why is it important to you?
One piece of advice.
So for me, it would be, who's your God and who's your spouse? I realize that's two questions, but that would be what I would say. Put a comma in there. I think they have to, put a comma in there. There you go. I mean, I feel like you have to answer those two questions. And the two most important decisions that I feel like I've made has been, who's my God? At the end of the day, who am I going to worship? Is it going to be the world, or is it going to be my Heavenly Father? And then second of all, I think the most important earthly decision that I've made is right here. Everything else, children, all that is.
I should keep him forever.
But more important than career.
He's laying a blueprint for the rest of us out here. Like, I like it.
More important than career, more important than, children is like, who's your spouse? Because this is that lifelong, relationship that you have that matters a lot. So
I just lost my dad in December of, was it
2020?
2020, yep. I lost him, and as we did, because he was important in both of our lives. And I could really tell that it was very important to my father at the end that his children were in relationship. And I think that would be important to me with our children too. I've watched COVID make families crazy, right? And they've even gotten to the point at times where there's division that just makes me feel heartbroken and sad. And I watched how important that was to Dad to make sure that we continued to care for one another, that we continued to appreciate one another. And what a great way to go. My dad's got 5 kids that are all in relationship. And I want you to know, when a parent dies, that is one thing that can just about make you all crazy. There's decisions to be made on the fly. There's all kinds of things going on surrounding you as he's dying. Are we doing this right? Blah, blah, blah. And we got to the end of it, and it wasn't pretty at every stage, but we were in relationship, and we are still in relationship. Now, we don't get to see each other on the regular, but that would be for my children. Take care of one another. Take care of one another, because we're not going to be here forever. And we want you to just care for one another through the whole time you have together as siblings. And if they do that well, we do that well, they do that well, how about our grandchildren? Pretty good shot they'll do that well too. So I guess take care of each other, love one another well.
It's really good. I mean, I think you hear legacy a lot, and these are some key foundational points to legacy. If you focus on legacy for legacy's sake, you probably make a couple wrong decisions. But if you can start with the foundational stuff that really matters, it's important. So I appreciate you both again sharing. This has been again part of my goal with this is again having the conversation. So of the 90% who don't have their own definition of what success is, there was a lot of nuggets in here of like start formulating what it means to you, and keep wrestling with it, and have the conversations with your significant other and your friends, those type of things, because it's possible to everybody, but it's just not easy.
Right.
This has been really fun, Tamian.
Yeah, thanks for your work you're doing, Tamian.
Yes, likewise.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, appreciate you guys, and see everyone on the next episode.
Sounds good. Thank you.